So it's been an interesting week. Let me just fix the microphone over here. Since the come on now. Since the 101st episode, or I think 100th episode was recorded very well too. I've prided myself on being able to record very clear audio on here, even though really the only sound that's important is the music. But it's nice to be able to hear what I sound like and have it not sound terrible. So, yeah. What do I got? Like 56 shares now. Okay, alright, good. So anyways, those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Rich Drezen, and this is Drezen Draws, the real-time drawing program thingy. So, those of you who are here again, welcome! Welcome back. Those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. For those of you who have been buying prints on my eBay store, thank you so much. Those of you who have connected with me on a personal level because you like what you see here, thanks. Appreciate it. A little bit more of what I do. I offer commissions as well, so you see me drawing things on here. I mean, I could draw something for you personally. You know, if you have an original character, if you want an avatar yourself, you can commission me for as little as $15 for an avatar, or regular character commissions for prices starting at $35, $25 each additional character. I also do pet portraits. Let's see, what else do we have here, because this is a slideshow. I also do birthday parties and corporate events. So if you like what you see here and you want me to bring the party to you, reserve on DrezenMedia.com. Let me know more, and we will make your day amazing. Also, a friend of mine, Jackie the Joke Man Martling, formerly the head writer on the Howard Stern Show, just recently started up a video podcast called Stand Up Memories with Peter Bales. Dr. Peter Bales, as a matter of fact. They have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. Go on the Facebook page to get the link to the YouTube channel and go watch it. If you're fans of Jackie or fans of Stern, I think you'll really find it interesting. There's a lot of good stuff that they talked about on their inaugural episode yesterday, so shout out again to Jackie. He's one of my heroes and really helped me pave the way on a professional level to doing what I love to do. Even though his business is a great deal different than mine, entertainment is all relative. And of course, I'm still hawking my my bread and butter creative stuff, which is LuckyZilla. We still got plenty of LuckyZilla the game plentifully available on LuckyZilla.com, as well as the LuckyZilla DVD and or Blu-ray celebration of the LuckyZilla home video release. You can become a patron if you like what you see here for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com/DrezenMedia. And if you want to really have some fun, feed your imagination and take flight with LuckyZilla comic magazines. I have to replace that and New Comic Strips Weekly because I ended the strip last year. Maybe tomorrow on my day off I'll actually get to doing that. Rearranging that finally. So, Mirthful matchups. It looks like we're going to be doing 3 characters instead of 2. I mentioned this on a friend of mine, and good friend Sebastian Bonet's Nerds of the Round podcast. There's not really a lot of background on it. It's just like, really? We're doing that? You're really putting that idea out there? Predator versus the Tick versus Winnie the Pooh. Like, in what universe is that in any way coherent, acceptable, any kind of phrase you want to use for something socially appropriate or inappropriate? I don't know. So anyways. Let's get the music started. Oh boy. I'm just gathering my references. And I gotta turn down the music some more because it's still a little loud. Oh, I'm getting a really bad idea right now. Okay. Oh, I gotta turn this camera this way. And while I'm at it, might as well show off. Oh, wow. This is what I draw on. It is a Wacom Cintiq 22 HD drawing tablet, and I'm sorry that you have to see my mess in the background. So anyways, let's get back to the draw cam. Oh, bye. Yeah, really. probably got like 12 dreadlocks or something. I'm gonna draw Predator first because I haven't seen any of the Predator films following the 1987 original with Schwarzenegger. I've wanted to for some time, I just haven't gotten around to it. And my fiance kind of laughs at me when I mention or start mentioning all the movies I haven't seen. She's like, wow, you've missed out on a lot of things. You never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You hadn't seen Beetlejuice. And I'm like, well, now that I'm with someone who can regularly acknowledge to me that I haven't seen those films, I'm gonna see them. And since then I have seen Beetlejuice and thoroughly enjoyed it. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I don't know. The movie was kind of stupid. I think it was meant to be, though. He's got web feet Predator. Oh, that's great. I don't know, something's wrong. Original suit actor who played Predator, Kevin Peter Hall, was an unfortunate casualty of the AIDS virus. I believe he passed away in '89 at the, let me see. Big dude, 7'2.5". Yeah, he was 36. That looks a more believable pose, I think. I think I'm gonna leave these references over here. I guess I don't really have a whole lot to say tonight. I mean, tomorrow's my birthday. I'm not much of a birthday celebrator guy. In some cases, I can give two craps about my birthday. But my fiance is wonderful, and I'm looking forward to spending a day with her. I took the day off from work, and it's going to be really nice. Tick is such a ridiculous looking character. gonna have him going into... Alright, so we got Predator and the Tick here. We're going to go to a quick break and be right back. Okay, I just had to go get a drink of milk. Pooh, kaiju size. Well, that would be funny. But what's even funnier is the idea, John, that I have in mind. I think you'll like it. But I think first we're gonna add some details on these buffoons right here. Got a friend down in North Carolina area named Bobby Devlin. I've known him since 2006. He recently came out with a Star Wars fan film called Forgotten Enemy. And I'm not a Star Wars guy in the least, but I highly recommend seeing it because it was a long time in the making. And he finally finished it. And it looks magnificent. Like, I think anyone who has an appreciation for movies ought to see it. It's very well done. And it really takes a lot from me as a non-Star Wars fan to watch something that's Star Wars related. There was this May the 4th contest a few years back when Force Awakens was first announced. The trailer came out and stuff. Some buddies of mine were quick to jump in on that bandwagon, and they asked me to do some animation work on it. I had nothing else going at the time, so I figured, hey, what the hell. One of these days I'll find a link to it. It's probably up somewhere. We got some exciting news coming up for Drezen Draws later in the month, which I will announce. Well, I'll tell you more about it. There's nothing really to announce at this point. It would involve putting pressure on people I don't want to put pressure on. But we'll talk more about it as the episode comes to a close. But tomorrow marks the first time that I am taking off from work on my birthday since... Christ. It's been forever. I mean, whenever I had... did it again. Let's rewind my progress. So you can see. Yeah, that's about right. Again. I might do this as a print. I'm not 100% yet. Pressure makes diamonds. Many thanks, Doug. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to get too personal on these things, but because it is my birthday, I will make an exception on why I feel that, for the most part, to me anyways, birthdays are just another day. I am named after my paternal... I am named after my paternal grandfather, Richard Lawrence Drezen. I was born Richard Thomas. And I always heard the name Grandpa Richard, but I never met him. And I wondered why. It wasn't until I was about 6 years old that my father explained that Grandpa Richard died at age 36. So tomorrow I turn 37 years of age, having outlived my namesake grandfather. So for the first time, it felt very weird that I was named after someone who wasn't there anymore. I would have dreams, thinking that I was getting close to meeting him, but that's, I think, right around the time that my dad, said to me, yeah, Grandpa Richard's not here. I didn't really know what death fully was until I was about 8 years old, and my great-grandmother died, and we were very close. We saw her about every other weekend, going up to the Bronx, my father's old stomping grounds, where she lived until about 1991. And yeah, Richard was, I'm told, very of his time. A classic 50s Jewish man, a husband works and the wife is the homemaker. She definitely, my grandmother went against the grain on several things, because the role of the American housewife was changing. And at first, my grandfather was extremely resistant. So I didn't realize until after my grandmother died that she had a teaching degree. She never really got to explore that in her earlier years because, well, she met my grandfather and she married him. And not too long after that started a family. My grandparents were married at 20 and 22 years of age. And my father came along in 1952, and my Aunt Lori came along in 1955. And they were married 10 more years after that before Richard suffered his second heart attack. He had 2 heart attacks. The second one ended up doing him in. It was extremely upsetting for the whole family, not just the immediate family of my dad, my aunt, my grandmother, and of course my grandfather's father, my great grandfather, who in my great grandfather's it shook the whole family up. And my great grandpa Bill lost 4 of his sisters when his parents came over from Russia in the early 1900s. So he was no stranger to the burden that death would inflict upon families, especially in the days without reliable medicines. It's like you got sick, you stayed in bed, and just hoped for the best. Penicillin came along a little bit later, but there weren't antibiotics in the 1900s. You stay home and you stay in bed, that sort of thing. Now, Grandpa Richard, on the other hand, had rheumatic heart fever. He had a lot of heart trouble throughout his life, and doctors warned him that he needed to kind of slow the F down. But he took things seriously, but at a certain point he felt like, it was kind of a burden to just not do the things that he wanted to do. He was also a smoker, so that certainly didn't help things, especially with his heart. And it was only a year before he died that the Surgeon General's warning started appearing on cigarettes. My father told a very interesting story. Growing up in a household with smokers, he thought there were clouds in his house. A not uncommon reaction. So I remember we had some visitors that smoked in my house growing up, and I kind of felt the same thing. I still remember that smoke filling our house, and I'm not going to mention any names because that person is still alive, but I was not fond of those clouds, and at a certain point neither were my parents, so they kind of laid down the law, and that was that. But Richard's death haunted me for a number of years. I wasn't born till 1985. He died 20 years beforehand. But when I was in my teens, particularly as I was getting closer to graduating from high school, I was like, his life was half freaking over when he graduated from high school in 1947. Now, like my 37 and I smoke, but I really get to that point. Hey, I mean, the science is all there. It's like, lung cancer is like the deadliest of cancers. I mean, even above pancreatic cancer. But, at the same time, it's like, yeah, maybe it won't get you, and this, that, or the third, but at the same time, smoking is just god-awful and disgusting. Yeah, I can't be around smokers nowadays in person. I mean, I'm not gonna do truth commercials, like those awful truth commercials that there were in the 90s. I could not stand those. I mean, they just kind of went too much with the science that a lot of people didn't really pay attention to anyway. Oh yeah, and I mean, of course there's the heart problems. But, well, one of the key things that each of these commercials failed to address is, hey, idiot, smoking makes you smell like a garbage dump. So, yeah, they were very corny. Which makes me hungry for popcorn now. Thanks, Doug. But yeah, I mean, to have made it to 37, I'm like, yeah, it's a little surreal. And the other day, I was telling this to my fiance. I woke up feeling just about totally, completely refreshed. I couldn't understand why at first, but then I started feeling, perhaps the pressure that I have been feeling for the past year and a half, getting to the age that Richard was when he died, was finally being lifted. I'm like, wow, that could very well be it. So, I mean, I'll take it. And getting back to smoking, I had a boss who I worked for 2.5 years. He smoked indoors in New York State. Forget about New York City. In New York State, I think that's highly illegal, but this particular boss did not care. He certainly showed it on more than one occasion. And it's one of the very few times in my professional graphic design career, or an art career as a whole, where I made a very vocal, fiery exit. Where I basically cursed him out on the phone and said, that's it, I'm done. I can't remember exactly what I said that day, but I basically, reamed him out for putting unrealistic expectations on me because I was working another job, which I thought was going somewhere. It was really going nowhere. But the indecision of that job to put me full time, coupled with the long existing issues at my old job, just made the demands of going back and forth very tiresome, because the person who replaced me was not trained properly by my boss, and it just it was a bad place to work. And that person has since tried reaching out to me, and each time I deny friend requests, I block him. I need nothing to do with him. I don't dwell on the fact that he was a horrible person. I don't really feel the PTSD of that job anymore, because he did other things such as take on jobs of forging people's phone bills, which, I mean, there are art thieves in the art world, and that's bad enough. You know, that's not what software like Photoshop and Illustrator and so on and so forth. That's not what the software is for. So he was also very verbally abusive. Like there was a time where he had asked that I try to recruit some people to do this mailing job for the Retired Police Association. I don't know if the association is still around. I know that its founder has since passed away, so I feel like I can talk freely about that, but again, I'm not going to dwell on it because I've since gotten over the PTSD of that job, between the long hours that I put in without any additional overtime pay, and just the fact that I cared more about this guy's business than he did was enough for, yeah. No, I imagine they didn't, and I mean, I could go on and on about how the American worker is being sacrificed left and right for profits, but it's fairly obvious. It's just, you know, does the government want to do anything about it? I don't know. I don't think they do. But the last thing I'm going to say about this is, no matter how much you're getting paid, or how little you're getting paid, the company does not own you at all. What they pay you an hour shouldn't have to feel like they're putting their hand up your ass. Because if it does, well, when the next job comes along, run fast. Get out of there and don't look back. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And I'm gonna redo these fishnets because I don't really like how I did them. So I'm looking at my reference, and I'm looking at one set of these things, and yeah, no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I was interviewed by a guy who had a sign on his desk that read, "The boss is always right." I am so glad that I never ended up working for that guy. I think his company went out of business, too. The hell with him. Finally know how to draw hands decently. If you knew me like 5-6 years ago, I can now draw hands as well as I can now. I mean, I could draw hands, but... not this cool. Not this one. Good looking. There we go. I've been listening to the autobiography of Coretta Scott King on my way to work over the last week or so. Now, I am not a religious person by any means, because Coretta does open up a lot about her religious feelings over the years, and you know, I'm taking it in the context of, okay, this was part of what got her through a lot of the challenges that she and Dr. King faced, and I have a lot of trouble reading because of my ADD. My eyes are wandering over the pages. I mean, it's like I'll read a paragraph on the next page before. It's like I try to read faster than my brain can process. It's not a good habit, I can assure you. But it's a fascinating story. She is just... I really wish that, aside from, of course, the man, the genius that was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I would have loved to have met Mrs. King. She seems like everything you've heard about her is her and better. She's just a phenomenal person. I'm sorry that she is no longer with us, but I'm glad that she wrote her autobiography and that she did end up sharing it, because wow, that's all I have to say. And I'm barely halfway through it. I mean, there's like another 8.5 hours to go, but I am just amazed. Sometimes I have to stop listening to it because I gotta take everything in. I'm like, okay, so this, and then I start looking up more of the people and places that she's talking about, and whether or not there's museums in these places, because I've been wanting to go to Atlanta for at least the past 5 years. I mean, one of the chief reasons I wanted to go to Atlanta was to go to the Coca-Cola Museum tours and the factory tours and things of that nature. But now that I know the King Center is down there, I want to go there too. I want to visit the historic park. It just sounds great. one of my heroes since childhood has been Dr. King. And, I would like to think that some of the work that I've done has been influenced by his teachings, his speeches about peace and nonviolence. Even though I draw a superhero comic book, and violence is unfortunately a byproduct of that. It's inevitable because of the nature of superhero stories. I mean, someone's getting beat up, but still, at the same time, I mean, he is just one of the most admirable human beings that ever lived. His message was very simple, very pure. Choose love, choose nonviolence, choose peace, love your enemies, and at a certain point, the evils that be might end up laying down their arms, and you can have a constructive dialogue. At least you would hope. Lucky could have a dance. I did consider that for this one story, where he was kind of challenging the villain to stretch the limits of their powers, and it ended up backfiring. And some of the recent resolutions, without revealing too many spoilers to some Lucky stories, involved nonviolence. So I am very proud about that. Because, I mean, I could very easily have Lucky deck a villain in the face, although with Lucky's strength, he could probably put a hole in their head, and how do I explain that? Well, one thing that's been pretty consistent, at least about this iteration of Lucky, is that he hasn't killed anybody. Lucky does not kill. It is against everything that he represents. I've considered storylines where, well, what if he did kill? But without revealing any spoilers, my nose is burning. Without revealing any spoilers, I feel like I'm getting to that point where that can be explored, but I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go in that direction, and if so, when. So that remains to be seen, at least for the moment. Tomorrow, for the first time in, let's see, since Christmas, I will not have to be. Oh yeah, believe me, I don't know how Lucky, at least Bruce Deodato Lucky, would be able to deal with it, but yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that. It was 2 years ago this very day that I unveiled the newly redesigned the then newly redesigned Lucky. It was redesigned for his 25th anniversary in 2020. And just before the world fell apart. So it was a stepping stone. I thought that there was room for improvement. I also realized that by doing this, the animation that I had done up to that point on the as of yet to be released half-hour pilot would have to be redone. Now, I at first wanted to hold off because I was like, yeah, that's gonna be a pain in the ass. You know, it means an entire rebrand. And then the more I avoided it, the more I was convinced that the character and the franchise would benefit from it. Because I felt like I was reaching my peak in terms of art possibilities. Like, I felt like the stories were getting richer and had more weight to them, but it's like they still looked like they had since I had started the strip, almost unchanged. And I realized that yes, if I did decide to, well, I mean, I was gonna redesign Lucky at some point anyway. It was just a question of when. And so then I ultimately decided I could either introduce the redesign now and worry about the animation later, because at the time I was still factoring in the weekly comic strip, which was still in production and is no more. Because I'm getting married later this year, the animation still is not on the table for release, at least through 2023, and perhaps even not even potentially on the table for 2024. So I could redesign him later on, and it wouldn't make a difference because I'd still be redesigning him at some point anyway. So the point I was about to make was for the premiere. Oh yeah, there will most certainly be a premiere when the animated pilot comes out, and it's hard to say when that's going to be because all the animation in it was done by me, and it's only half done. So yeah, and I was having a conversation not too long ago with Jackie Martling. And he's a very understanding guy. He knows that I'm just one guy. There are some people I've spoken to over the years that give me crap sometimes. Like, oh, you poured yourself into that and you never finished it. And I'm like, well, I was younger. I was inexperienced. But I ended up doing the comics as a promotional tool, and they became the franchise. So it's not like I walked away empty-handed. Ah. Yeah, the wedding is between me and her, it's a awful lot of people that that we both wanted to invite. But you're on the B list, so if anyone is unable to come, I will be sure to keep you in mind. And you can trust me on that. Unfortunately, speaking of which, here we go. Trigger warning about death again. We have had a few losses in the family, some extended family, over the past few weeks. Most recently, well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Doug, but I'm not going to mention anything directly on here, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But stay tuned for that. I'm actually glad that you brought that up. That I can make out of. I had a couple of my grandmother's generation pass away in a few weeks of each other. You know, I mean, a lot can be said about some of the old timers in this country, and it's already been very well documented on social media. But you know, there are people from previous generations that have amazing stories to tell, and that have been a part of some amazing progress, be it social change or just otherwise pleasantries and goodwill towards one another, that future generations can certainly take to heart and make sure that future generations don't make the same mistakes as prior ones. I mean, yes, at the end of the day, we're all human, but you know, we owe it to ourselves to learn from our history. So, anyways, I completely forgot about my redesigning Lucky. At first, I was going to redesign him. Plans for the redesign, think date as early as August of 2019. But formal redesign work was underway in December of 2019 when I was finishing up the story strip Godzilla vs. Lucky-Zilla, which is the last story strip to feature the earlier Lucky design. And that was a fun strip, although it really got to be a nuisance after a while because I had a ref story that was in pre-production at the time that I just couldn't figure out the story on, and it bothered me so I ended up holding that one back. Oh god. Well, what I was getting at is the next redesign of Lucky could be coming sooner than you think, But I don't want to say any more about that for right now. But if I don't evolve with the changing times, I feel like as an artist, I am not fulfilling my obligation to grow and adapt, as heroes have to do with changing times and changing their environments, whether it be social, whether it be weather, global warming related, or just any number of things. Again, not wanting to, not gonna have spoilers. But let's just say, if you think what you've seen so far is exciting, wait. So no rocket. Well, I mean, dude, he can fly. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the ref too, but I can't tell you why. Yeah, a lot of excitement coming down the pike. I think, is this booty shorts? Cool. I wouldn't rule out booty shorts, to be quite honest, though. as long as I can find a way to adapt it for a kid's comic. No, maybe not for a kid's comic. Maybe for the live-action Ninja Turtles Lucky movie. Or I mean, it's a Lucky Zilla movie, but it's done more or less in the style of the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie. It's done partially by the Jim Henson Company. My parents and my fiance and I are going to dinner at this Caribbean restaurant nearby. I'm very excited. I don't think I've ever been to a Caribbean restaurant. So that should be a lot of fun. So my fiance is always telling me I gotta broaden my horizons in terms of food, because I am the worst when it comes to trying new things food related. She will never let me hear the end of it, and I'm glad, because my diet sucks. I have a friend in his mid-20s who is a huge Winnie the Pooh fan. Just thought of this out of the blue. Have you ever considered Gritty? Huh. Interesting. I could do sports mascots. Yeah, I have. I thought it has crossed my mind. Actually, I did consider doing an episode about with game show hosts. I kind of lost interest in that though after Alex Trebek died. Do I want to stick around and color this one, or do I... Imagine... I'm glad that there haven't been any dropped frames in this episode. My internet's cooperating for once, which seems to be a rarity. And also considering that I'm still working on Windows 7 because I'm too stubborn to upgrade. I might even set up my projector and, you know, maybe watch a Godzilla movie before I turn in. And maybe I should color this. You know, it only seems right. Actually, no. Pose with the peanuts. Yes! I was just thinking the same thing. I just wasn't sure if the pose was right. I'm not much of a wrestling guy, but, you know, lately when I'm trying to think of something humorous or something that'll lighten the mood in tense situations. Perfect example is at my job. You know, I just, you know, go around, start BSing with people, and I'm like, could you picture so-and-so arm wrestling with this guy? You know, let's form a company arm wrestling league. And I actually came this close to formally starting one. But then I was just like, I don't want to bring myself any unnecessary attention, because I really do not like having attention brought to me at my job. I'm there, I work, I go home. It's that simple. I don't go to company picnics, I don't go to Christmas parties. I'm past doing that for any job. It's like, pay me and I'm going to F home. That's it. And it's not like I do it to be unfriendly, but, you know, I have just had so many bad experiences that, you know, I don't want to give anyone any false impression of me by just blindly agreeing to everything that they say just because they're in charge. Screw that. Also, not going to work for anyone that exploits or talks down to a mostly immigrant staff, because that's just not cool. I work at a place where the workforce is predominantly Latin American. They are sweethearts, all of them. And they deserve to be treated better and paid better. I don't know what they make, because I don't always get into those conversations. I mean, legally, according to most state laws, you are allowed to discuss your salary with other employees. It's very much legal in almost every single state. I think it's even legal at the federal level. It's just kind of frowned upon. I promised myself I wasn't going to get back to that, but you know, inevitably, this is what it is. Pay, then they start guilting you into withdrawing your argument because they're like, oh yeah, I haven't even taken a salary in 2 years. And I'm like, well, whose fault is that for buying $3,000 worth of rhodium or some other kind of BS that the company got involved in that they want to pass on to them? Please, kind of talk is for the birds. I don't talk to people I work with outside the workplace. I don't have friends at work. I mean, there's people I'm friendly with, but I'd never hang out with anyone from work. The maintenance guy would be the exception because he's a good dude. Is fairly easy to color, especially considering that I'm not doing the shading or anything, because that's just going to take so much longer. Oh boy. I really enjoyed the Tick animated series. I also enjoyed the live action series. I think it was from the late 90s. I just can't completely recall. Predator, Tick, and Winnie the Pooh. See, and I'm glad we can have a civil debate about all this stuff. And that's another reason why I don't allow my bosses into my social media. I for one thing, I don't effing trust them. Yeah, I think that's a different series, but yeah, there is a current series that I think is on Amazon. The one I'm thinking of, though, it lasted like 9 episodes. I think it was on Fox, and then like a lot of shows on Fox, unfortunately, it got canned before the end of its first season. What can you do? Tomorrow I'm going to be spending some time outside the house, as I'm told that there are going to be some things going on here that I'm not supposed to see, so okay, fine. And let's see, what are they going to say about that? I can't remember. Oh yeah. So I might be taking a trip over to our local library, which is fast becoming one of my favorite places to be around where I live. This library, for real, like, has it all. It is a great community effort to lend out not just books, but even power tools, or a Sega Genesis Mini, or a ukulele if you're into that kind of stuff. I used to have some musical chops back in the day. I played the cello for about 3.5 years, and then unfortunately I had to give that up because my grades were suffering in other places. So yeah, I did NISMA, and now you're asking me to drop this. Well, that's really effing convenient, but okay. Like, yeah, maybe I'll pick it up again in the future. I never did. Then they're like, oh, you don't have to take a foreign language. I'm like, tu es un pantamiculo. And yes. Oh yes, Patrick Warburton was great as the Tick. One villain I wish got an actual screen appearance and not just a mention was Apocalypse Cow. Now, that is a supervillain, or I am no cartoonist. Good night, Jordan. Thanks for joining in. This sounds a lot like the band Odyssey. Progressive metal band. My friend Lily Jane Lovejoy probably know better, even though this is a royalty-free stock music site that I use. Someone give that girl a disc jockey job, because she knows some really good metal bands. Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned, there are some really nice doings coming up for Drezen Draws in the coming weeks. Next week, we're taking a week off. However, the 2 weeks following that, we are going to have 2 special episodes, as February is Black History Month. And Black History Month should be important to everyone, because there are so many things that we as a society need to start learning. And that is, all people are created equal. Not every government has recognized that, and that is a shame, and it is a shame that we need to undo through action, not just words. So, I don't want to give too many details because certain things are being worked out now, but we will be featuring interviews with some amazingly talented Black artists and creators. I don't think you're going to want to miss this at all. Either show. There's going to be February 17th and February 24th, 2 different nights, 2 different sets of artists and creators talking about what they do, a little bit about themselves, and maybe a bit of a roundtable discussion. The list of people that will be participating will be made available once I hear back from everyone that I've been reaching out to, and getting the appropriate yeses, nos, and of course their pieces that they want to show off, anything in progress, anything they wish to discuss, whether it be current social issues. influences and the like. I mean, these two shows are going to be about not just celebrating black culture, but also celebrating the incredible artistry of black artists and creators. And I mean, I have done 40-something conventions, and I have seen some really amazing creators, and some of them have been black, some of them have been Hispanic and Asian, because it's not just, you know, if you come from a very small, predominantly white town, you're not seeing everything that that your trade has to offer. Go out and meet people and experience perspectives, because there's a lot to behold. There's a lot to be learned. Not all of it is pretty, but you learn from history, especially some of the unfortunate parts of history. You can ensure that the bad parts of history shall not repeat themselves. So, again, you are not going to want to miss the upcoming Drezen Draws shows on the 17th and the 24th. I'm not going to say who's going to be involved, but at the same time, I am really, really, really excited about the people that have decided to participate. They're a great bunch, and they know who they are. So yeah. But yeah. Anyways, again, we'll get into the ads. Check out Jackie Martling's Stand-Up Memories. If you like what you see here and want to commission me, DrezenMedia.com, or call 516-515-0770. Do birthday parties, corporate events, and other functions. Message me to find out more. Of course, check out LuckyZilla the game. Celebration of LuckyZilla, the home video release. Become patron for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com/DrezenMedia. And of course, feed your imagination and take flight with LuckyZilla comic magazines. And speaking of LuckyZilla, before we go, tomorrow we release the 27th issue of the LuckyZilla comics. Yeah. I can't believe I made it this far. It's crazy. So, yeah. I gotta update the Lucky site. So, if you'll excuse me, I need to go do that. And stay drawsome. Oh, wrong one. Bye.